Hello and welcome back. My name is Philip and this is the next video in the timetabling series at DayGrid. So in this video, we are actually going to finally get stuck into building our timetable and using the optimization engine to do all the heavy lifting and hopefully save you, hours of work and effort. Okay, so we are in the timetable section. We are working with our training timetable that we've set up before. We've already made sure our subjects and subject offerings are set up the way we like it. We've set the requirements for the sessions across the year level, and now we are into the Builder tab. Okay, so this is the main grid, the main section where you'll be doing all your work in building those timetables. At the end of the last session, I mentioned that once you have your subjects and your requirements defined, the very first thing you're going to need to do is to come over here and to click the Generate Sessions button. Now, if you happen to make any changes to your subject offerings or your requirements, or even your teacher availability, you will need to regenerate these sessions again if you're still working on the same timetable. So that would remove any work that you've done because we need to regenerate those sessions to have a look at the availability and the requirements, and it changes the whole structure of the timetable. So try to get all that stuff done first before you start working on the timetable. So here we go, we've pressed Generate Sessions. It'll just come up with a confirmation window. We click the button again, and now all the sessions have been generated. So the way our timetabling system works is once we have those subjects and requirements set, we generate a session for every single class and subject that needs to be placed. So on the left-hand side, we essentially have a working list of every single class and subject color-coded that needs to be placed for that week on the timetable. So we see here in music, we've got the one subject. Because we have two subject offerings for music, we have two possible teachers, A. Martin and E. Kennedy. And we have all the classes listed here. So we have 1C music, 1A music, 1B music. These are all individual sessions that need to be placed on the grid. Same with PE, same with STEM, and same with all the subjects. Okay, we see here with multi-year level sport, we only set that up for grade 6, so we've got only 3 sessions in here that need to be placed. Okay, so that basically just gives you a list of all the work items, all the sessions that need to be placed and put on to the grid over here. So we'll just cover a few of the basic options you've got here. So if you want to increase your workspace to make it easier to work with, you can of course hide the menu on the left-hand side at any point with this toggle button up here. We'll hide the menu. And if you need even more space, you can toggle these sessions here on the left-hand side off as well. So on the top, we have our toolbar. There's a number of buttons up here that you'll be able to use. So very quickly, we're starting here on the left-hand side with the delete option. So you can either clear all the sessions that have been placed on the grid. If you click on that, it'll come up with an option. You can either remove all the sessions or only the unlocked sessions, which we'll get to in a second. You can, of course, also delete the entire timetable from here as well. Our next option is for you to be able to lock all the sessions or to unlock all the sessions. Okay, so one of the key components of the timetabling is that you can place a session anywhere on the grid. Okay, and if you wanted to manually place all of these lessons, for instance, okay, you could do that and then you could lock them so that they can't be moved. And also when you run the timetable generation or the autofill engine, it will leave those locked sessions where they are. Okay, so you were able to fine tune and place the perhaps more nuanced or niche things that you want to work around and then run the engine around that. Okay, so also using this lock and unlock, you could, if you had a lot of things on the grid, you could simply press lock all or unlock all. Okay, and you may have noticed here that while I made these changes, this save button up here has become highlighted, indicating that there are unsaved changes and to click to save. If I was to use this button here, on the back on the left, which says reload timetable, that's going to take us back to a clean slate at the last save point. Okay, and you can see here the save button is grayed out. There's no changes that have been made. There's nothing saved. So again, if we go over here, say for instance in language, and we want to either drag some sessions onto the grid, or if we simply want to double click on a session, it will place it in the next available slot. So you can see here very quickly, I've added a lot of these sessions on. The save button has been highlighted. We can save that. If we wanted to lock all those sessions, we could lock that, unlock individual ones, delete individual cells or sessions, and again, save that timetable. So moving along here, we have a few other buttons that we'll come back to in a little bit. But for now, let's just look at the other ways you can interact with the actual timetable. So I'm just going to clear all these sessions, and you can notice before that it didn't remove these because, of course, I said to clear sessions and I had only the unlocked sessions only recommended. So if I want to clear everything, make sure you tick all sessions. And now we're back to a clean slate. Okay, so the general process here is you can, of course, manually add sessions from the left-hand side onto the grid as you see fit. It will not let you put them where they don't belong. Okay, so if you're trying to try to drag a language session and put it into music, it'll say it's the wrong subject. Okay, we try to make it pretty clear as to where it can go. We have live validation happening here, so we can see that any of these green cells, you can put this. Okay, now at the moment we've got things down, you can't put this here anymore. And it's not just checking just that subject. If we were to, for instance, put prep A here for music on Monday, first period, and we now try to drag prep A for language, we can't put that into Monday first period because, of course, they're already allocated to music. So this dynamic validation will work on any placements and any sort of validation that's happening on the grid, whether it's teacher availability, class availability, time slots, clashes, any of that sort of stuff. It should be able to give you an instant validation as to where you can put those sessions. So in addition to that, if you've got an empty cell on the grid, at any point you can hover your mouse over there and simply press this ban icon or block icon. And that will essentially block any of those cells or time periods to be used or placed during the timetabling engine. And it will prevent you from manually dragging those classes there as well. So this is a great way for you to fine-tune your availability for that class, that subject, at a more granular level. Okay, so once you're ready to get started, you can, like I said, manually drag some things in and lock them down and say, okay, now I want to work around that. We have these 3 classes locked down. I've saved that. I want to now generate my timetable. So over here, we have a couple of options you want to look at. So we have this button right next to autofill timetable. It's called timetable priorities. So if you open this, you'll see that you have a year level planning option. So this is a great feature that lets you create shared planning time for year level teams. So if you select these options, DayGrid will try to allocate a specialist class for those classes in that year level at the same time, so that those homeroom teachers can all have non-face-to-face time at the same time if they want to have group or team planning. If you don't want to have this, you can simply turn them off, deselect them. If only some year levels need them, like prep, grade 1 and maybe grade 6, you can do it that way as well. So if you want to have the year level planning working, open up the timetable priorities button and just select the year levels you want it to apply to. Save changes, and then you're ready to go. So now we press the autofill timetable button. This will bring up another menu, and from here, it's just going to clarify what's happening. And basically, it's saying that we're going to recalculate and rebuild any unlocked sessions and create a balanced, clash-free, well-structured timetable. Locked sessions will be kept, unlocked sessions will be moved or swapped or reassigned. We'll look at the teacher availability, the constraints, make sure there's no clashes, double booking. We'll make sure those staffing or those requirements are met for those subjects, and we'll try to balance and create an even distribution of workload for those teachers. There's a number of options here that you can adjust to try to get a timetable that suits your needs. So if you hover your mouse over the information icon, it'll give you a brief description of each of these. The optimization level is around how long this autofill timetable engine will run to get you the best result. The longer it runs, the better chance it is of having a better result. You can leave everything on balanced or standard if you like, and it's a great way to get started. Or otherwise, you can turn things off or give them a higher or lower priority based on what is important for your school. So I'm going to press the run autofill. I'm going to let this run in real time so you can see how it's going to work. It's probably will only take about 10-15 seconds on the balanced setting, and that'll be running through tens of thousands of moves and changes and iterations to create that sort of perfect balanced timetable. Okay, so here we are. The timetable has been generated. At a glance, we can very quickly see all these subjects are showing 100% in terms of placement. There are no sessions left to be placed. So everything has been placed on the grid. Okay, we can go through and have a look at each subject. We can collapse any subjects to have a look at what we're dealing with. You can see here with STEM, we have a series of grayed out cells, which is because the teacher is unavailable during those times. Everything else is fairly available. This Friday 6th period has been blocked because that's how we've set it up in the time structure. Okay, so from here, great, we've got a timetable, but what you're probably asking is, okay, is it any good? And that's a very valid question. So from here, there's a couple of things we can do to start to sort of validate that. So we have a couple of different timetable views with this button up here in the toolbar. So we can view by class. It'll open up a new modal, and you can go through and look at it from the class perspective. So you can cycle through each class and look at how they have their timetables allocated and what it looks like for that homeroom teacher. You can toggle the breaks on and off if you want to see how recess and lunch plays into their specialists. And it'll give you a bit of a summary as to who's teaching the class, how many sessions have been placed, and if there's any sessions remaining. In addition to that, we have view by year level. And this is going to be a great way to see if and when we've got that planning time that's been allocated for each of these year levels. So you can see here with prep, which was one of the year levels we chose, we're now looking at the entire week. We've got the same time periods on the left-hand side and days of the week across the top, but now we're looking at all the different classes. So we can see for prep, we've got Prep A has language on Monday, second period. They've got Prep B has got music, fourth period. And if we come over here on Friday, we can clearly see all three prep classes have got a specialist class at the same time. And we can see up at the top, yep, tick, we've got planning time. It's been allocated Friday, fourth period. We go through grade 1. Again, we can see the same thing. Tuesday, third period, everyone's off at a specialist at the same time. Now, we didn't select it for grade 2 and grade 3 and grade 5, but we did select it for grade 6. And again, the engine has made sure that they've all got a specialist class at the same time. So those homeroom classes and homeroom teachers can have that team planning time together if that's what your school wants. Okay, so they're the different views that you can have a look at. And again, of course, you can go through here. You can drag things around and manually change them if you think you can find, or if you'd like to find a better alternative. You can also swap the sessions around. So if you want to try to swap, say 5A with 5B, drag it over it. If it's valid, it will swap the session and you can just save it. If you want to, we want to try to swap 2B over here with 3,4D. Yep, that worked. Great, we can save that too. Now we can go into the View Timetable Analytics. So this is the last option here on the toolbar. When we open this, it'll give you a number of sort of stats and details so you can start to defend and justify the timetable and hopefully see that it has produced a good result. So in our Overview tab, we've got a quick summary of the scheduling progress, the number of sessions that have been placed, if there's any unplaced sessions, and we've got a summary here of the face-to-face teaching time as well. Now, I know this is a very important figure for schools, and while we have a basic formula to calculate that, you might want to make sure you're tracking that information externally as well. But what we look at is the time setup, the way you've set up that time structure, and we look at the entire time period of the day, and then we take out any of those sessions that are clearly non-teaching times, like recess and break. And that's the total time for a given day. And then, of course, we can break that down into specialist and non-specialist hours. Okay, and that gives you a basic face-to-face teaching time for those class teachers. So we go through to the classes tab here, and we've got a couple of options. We have a summary table, which we're looking at now, and we have a details table as well. So this is going to show us data relating to every class. We can sort and filter all of these things. We can see here, all of these classes have got 21.25 hours of homeroom time. The grade 6s have got less because they've got that extra multi-year level sport. Okay, we can sort by any of these things. We can see the placed, unplaced percentages. We can see everyone's got 100% of their sessions allocated. If we click on any of these, it will take us into the details tab. And here we have a bit more of a drill down as to exactly what they've got. So we can see again their homeroom hours, their specialist hours, a breakdown or a ratio of face-to-face teaching hours. And for that class, we can see when they've actually got all of their sessions allocated. So music, visual arts, language, STEM, PE, and we can see the day, the teacher, and the time. And lastly, if we go to the subjects tab, we get a lot of the same information, but now we're looking at it from a subject perspective. So we can see here that language had 20 sessions allocated, 100% placed. It's across 20 classes. There was one offering, and we've scheduled 15 hours. Okay, if we click on that, again, it's going to show us a drill down. It'll show us the teacher who's taking that subject and how many sessions and hours they have on any given day, so you can see their workload distribution as well. Okay, and that is the analysis section. Okay, and I think with that information and the details you have here on the timetable grid, you can see that within just a few moments, you've been able to generate a timetable. You can easily move sessions around, drag and drop things. You'll get instant validation as to whether or not you can put things in certain times. And if you wanted to change any of the settings or the details, whether you wanted to lock some of these shifts down, or perhaps you wanted to try to add in a couple of extra year levels in terms of getting year level planning and having that sort of priority, you can just change the settings, go back to autofill, and run the engine again. Okay, so that'll just take a few seconds. It'll run and it'll work around the changes that you've made and try to generate that ideal timetable. So we'll see here that's generated. We can go back into view by year level, and we can see that now those extra year levels have got some extra year level planning, and those sessions that we've had locked have stayed where they are, and the system has worked around them. those stats will have updated. And when you're comfortable and happy with the result that you've got, you can update the status of the timetable, perhaps set it to review so that you can review, share with other teams. And then when you're ready, you can export it to CSV, and then you can organize it in a format that you want, distribute it how you want, upload it into your student management system, and just basically get it set up the way you need to. So hopefully with this, you can see that it's easy and a powerful tool, and you'll be able to generate those timetables in minutes once you get things set up. So thank you very much for your time. This is probably the last video we'll have in the timetable session. If you do have any more questions or concerns, or you're still unsure, give it a shot. You can always reach out to us via email. You'll have our contact details. If you've got an account manager, you can give them a call, and they'll be able to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.